Well, you might wonder why it's so great that we should have free will, or more tellingly, this is a serious point, you might wonder why God should have so constructed the universe that our evil choices can have such potent effects. I mean, maybe it's great that we should have the chance to manifest our evilness, but why couldn't he fuck it up every time so that we don't actually get the result that we're aiming at? I mean, wouldn't the world have been better if God had made it much harder for people with free will to kill and maim and harm? The bad people with free will could still have chosen very badly, even if God had made it harder for their bad will to have bad effects, and so forth. Another problem with the free will defense is that it works much better for things like torture and other human nastinesses than it does for earthquakes and for cancer. Some theologians try to cover those non-humanly produced bad things by saying that they represent challenges to human beings. The bad things which don't reflect human free will are good because they give us opportunities to be heroic and philanthropic. Make your own mind up what you think of that. By the way, a true story which I think is extraordinary. When a terrible airplane accident occurred when a plane was taking off in Texas about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think in Dallas, dozens of people died and a few survived. And one of the survivors was interviewed and asked what she thought about having been spared. And she said, like it proves to me that there must be a God. However, take your time. I got plenty. Now, the problem of evil, as I've elaborated it so far, is a specifically theological problem. It's no problem for disbelievers in an omnipotent and thoroughly benevolent God. But there is a kind of problem of evil, too, for those of us, like me and some of you, who don't believe in such a God. Our problem is that although, unlike conventional believers, we don't have on our hands an embarrassing demonstration that there can't be anything bad, a demonstration that seems to fly in the face of the facts, we still think that there shouldn't be anything bad. Bad things are a drag. They disfigure our world and our experience. As a result, even non-believers have striven to indicate ways that bad things can be good. And this lecture will be devoted to a classification of their results. So at this point, I leave the specifically theological problem of evil behind to deal with what I'll call the secular problem of evil, although some of my answers to the secular problem of evil might have benign theological applications. Now, before I begin my review of solutions to the secular problem of evil, and there will be about 8 or 9 of them, 8 or 9 ways that bad things can be good.
When you say 8 or 9 ways, do you mean 8 ways or 9 ways?
I mean 8 or 9.
Yes, but could you be... Will you let him talk, for Christ's sake?
Anyway, all right. Sometimes these characters... you see, Canadians... I'm a Canadian, right? And what we feel hemmed in on 2 sides, you see. There's this sort of little British pecking away, and there's the American kind of, swashbuckling away. And what we have to try to do is set them against one another, right? So from time to time, there's a little interruption, right? This is something that Canadians have to learn to do. You know what a Canadian is? A Canadian is an American who says, "I'm sorry." Oh, I'm sorry. That's not a very kind thing to say. I beg your pardon. So these guys sometimes interrupt, and we'll just have to do our best to tolerate these little gad-flying nesses. Before I review my 8 or 9 fuck-off ways that bad things can be good, I have to make a technical point about how I'm going to use the word good this evening. I'm going to use the word good in the sense in which it might be used in the science of economics. Because sometimes in economics, words are used differently from how they're ordinarily used. And I shall presently indicate the particular deviant way that I have in mind in which an economist might use the word good. The character of the relevant deviation in the use of the word good can be explained on the analogy of the widespread uses by economists of the phrases bigger than and better than. When a lay person says that X is bigger than Y, he means that Y is smaller than X.
Do you mean that that's all he means?
No. That's the main thing that he means. But when an economist says that x is bigger than y, he means what we non-economists would mean if we said that x is bigger than or equal to y. Have you ever had that in economics? Happens all the time. You know, I mean, I love you more than, the economist says, I love you more than anybody else in the world. But what about Sally? You love her just as much. So that doesn't contradict what I said. You know what I mean? Absolutely extraordinary. The economist says, you're sweeter than anything in the world. It could be that everything in the world is just as sweet as you are. So it doesn't follow in economics that if one thing is bigger than another, then that other is smaller than the first thing. All it follows is that the other thing is not bigger than the bigger thing. You might find that surprising, but science is full of surprises.